Well, that sounds like I've missed some very interesting talks this morning by not joining first thing. As an ex-military man, acronyms make up about 50% of what I say. So I think it was Emma. If you're still here, maybe you can help me with that later on. You've already had a lot of talks about AI today. It sounds like we're going to be doubling down on that next year as well. And I am here to talk to you about AI again. So hopefully I add some value to the previous talks that you've had on threat intelligence and AI in big campaigns, rather than just repeating some of the stuff that's already been covered. And lastly, if we do make it for any questions, I am already married, so there's no need to ask about proposals or anything like that. So without further ado.
In 2016-17, a fintech giant adopted AI to streamline loan approvals, reducing decision time and expanding access to credit. The AI model, trained on historical data, seemed like a game changer, initially boosting loan approvals and speeding up processes. However, the company hadn't considered the risk of model manipulation. Fraudsters and borrowers found ways to game the system by tweaking behaviors, such as making small payments or artificially improving credit scores to trick the AI into approving high-risk loans. As a result, loan defaults surged. Regulators began scrutinizing lending clubs' opaque AI decision-making process, and the company faced lawsuits and fines for its lack of transparency and poor risk management. This incident highlighted a critical lesson. AI systems need robust security measures and must be explainable, particularly in sensitive industries like finance. Blindly trusting AI without considering manipulation risks can lead to catastrophic business outcomes. I know it's the after-lunch shift, so I hope you are all fully fed and ready to go. On that note, I'm going to hand you over to Graeme, who will take you through this subject in a little more detail.
Right, thank you very much to my beautiful assistant there. That was made using something called Synthesia, if you've not seen it, which is an AI platform to be able to build videos and upload scripts. So you can generate some quite interesting stuff already for the cost of a few pounds. My name is Graeme Park, and as introduced earlier, I'm the CISO and resident CIO at Matillion. Matillion are a cloud data company doing ETL for cloud-native organizations. We've recently pivoted this year to make sure that we are riding on the coattails of the AI wave and ensuring that we can build AI into data pipelines for companies such as London Stock Exchange and ServiceNow. This certainly isn't a pitch for Matillion, but you can see why I've got a particular interest in this area. So just to get a show of hands, can I get everyone to put their hand up who's using sanctioned AI within their organizations today? Okay, so probably about 20% of the room there. Who then uses ChatGPT or other LLMs without a corporate account in their day-to-day business? Okay, and there's probably a few more who are too scared to actually admit that at this stage. And I guess lastly, I just want to know, who has had AI projects stall within their business due to security concerns at the moment? Okay, and again, a handful there. So today I'm going to take you through the importance of why we must adopt AI, the challenges that come with that from a security perspective, and then some principles that we can consider when we're rolling out AI to an organization or across an enterprise, how we balance security and agility. I just want to clarify that when I talk about AI, it's a broad construct here. I'm talking about everything from traditional machine learning models, large language models, and retrieval augmented generation as well. Anything that enables predictive, non-deterministic decision making. So you all answered then about the kind of adoption of AI within your business. And I just wanted to take this slide because I saw this pop up on Reddit or somewhere yesterday, and I thought it was quite interesting. For those of you who are using sanctioned AI in the likes of Microsoft's Copilot or things like this in development organizations, fine, you have some view on this. For those of you who aren't, your developers are anyway. So what this graph shows is the traffic on Stack Overflow and that steep drop off when ChatGPT became a thing. So the reality is that your developers are uploading code content to ChatGPT or other models, regardless if you've enabled them. And they are including elements of code generated by, again, ChatGPT here, within your code base going forwards. That's the reality. So I just wanted to illustrate the risk of not adapting to technology here a little bit further. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, I'd like you to consider Blockbuster, and as I look around the room, I think the vast majority will remember Blockbuster for being at its peak, renting your videos on a Friday night, and really having millions of members globally. Although there are a few people who Blockbuster might not have been a global name for within the audience. When video was changing, when streaming was becoming popular, or even when Netflix was a CD-based organization or DVD-based organization, Blockbuster stayed committed to its traditional model. They didn't embrace the new digital opportunities that were available. And as a result, I think they've had one of the most catastrophic downfalls from grace that can be experienced. They became a memory in a matter of years. And this story is just a real powerful reminder that businesses need to move with the times. If not, they risk becoming obsolete. Today, I think we're in a similar era of transformation with AI. Adopting new technologies is crucial and is absolutely required to stay relevant. But embracing AI isn't just about staying competitive, it's about actually making yourself future-proof and positioning yourself to thrive in the next environment. There was some recent reporting by McKinsey, and I say recent, it actually came out in 2023, so these numbers probably lag slightly. But in 2023, 55% of companies surveyed had already adopted AI. 40% of them were planning on ramping up investment, and amazingly, even in 2023, 20% of these companies, 20% of profit within these companies was attributed to AI performance within those organizations. So that's why we need to actually move with this. The companies that are using AI to unlock operational efficiencies, drive innovation, or transform customer experience are going to be the ones that lead us over the next few years. NVIDIA is just one example of why we're seeing this gross change. But AI doesn't just improve what we do now. It changes it, it revolutionizes it. Whether it's streamlining supply chains, personalizing marketing at scale, or accelerating product development, I think AI is going to become the backbone of what we do. So with organizations who are using AI, uncovering new revenue streams and optimizing customer journeys, it's important that we are able to predict and make these shifts before they happen. The reality is, though, that as we go through the next couple of years, the gap between those who do and those who don't will widen. And it will widen at such a pace that those AI top performers will pull so far ahead, it will be almost impossible to catch up. And this isn't just a theory. Companies are showing this at the moment. I've not got it written in the notes. I can't remember if it was Google or Amazon. I'm pretty sure it was Google. Released a stat that 25% of their code at the moment is generated by AI. That's how many months after ChatGPT came out, how many months after Google were able to operationalize Claude or Gemini or whatever they're using internally. Not long at all. So now more than ever, AI is the thing that's going to separate us from leaders and followers. That said, we're at a security conference. I've got security within my job title, and I think the risks of insecure AI adoption obviously need to be talked through. Because while we do have those incredible opportunities, and while we'd be remiss to not take up on them, there are new vulnerabilities that this introduces for us. AI systems handle a huge amount of data. The models that they're trained on, any augmentation that we give to them, the databases that drive them, hold information such as corporate sensitive, personal information, financial records, strategic data. And if we don't have strong security around those and the data that sits below the model, AI can become a prime target for criminals. We can have issues where staff are creating data breaches, uploading to ChatGPT, not turning off model training because maybe they can't, maybe they haven't paid for it. And we can have issues with data privacy as well. where AI systems are operating on large data sets that include personal details, and mishandling that can become problematic under data privacy legislation. One second. But look, beyond these kind of issues, there are also a bunch of other cyber attacks that can attack these types of systems, where bad actors intentionally manipulate the AI. We covered it right at the start, but for example, if you can inject malicious data into a model, you can skew the decision-making process that's been created. Whether it's in self-driving cars, fraud detection systems, facial recognition technology, you can just imagine a scenario where a retail system was approving fraudulent transactions because the model's already been poisoned. And worse still, due to the complexity of these systems and the lack of understanding of AI engineers and data engineers that we have within organizations, it's really hard to see until significant damage has been done. The more complex the model, the more opaque it is, and the more difficult it is to catch what can be a very subtle manipulation in time. And the reality here is something that we've said for years. We've said security is not an IT problem, it's a business problem. Well, we're the same with AI here. It needs to be moved out of the domain of IT if that's how organizations are thinking about it, and it needs to be looked at throughout the whole business. Because the failure to secure these systems is going to have those big issues of loss of reputation, potential financial losses, and hefty fines associated. The caution that I ask for, though, especially from this crowd who will all sit in similar types of position to myself, will sit in vendors who sell technology to go and secure AI systems, is that we put this in context, and we put it in the context of cybersecurity incidents that have happened in the past and the impact on stock price. It's usually relatively short-lived on the impact, and organizations will usually make that gain back, save perhaps Yahoo and SolarWinds. But in that macroeconomic context, not to act is the problem. We need to do something. So just talking about some of the kind of attacks in a little bit more detail. In 2020, which is obviously quite a long time ago in the world of AI, researchers have demonstrated that they could have subtle stickers on street signs, which could deceive AI in self-driving cars. That's great for an example because it's big, it's impactful. No one wants to be sat behind the steering wheel or lack of a steering wheel in their Tesla and have the car turn the wrong way, or worse still, decide to drive through a wall or into somebody. But it's a classic example of an adversarial attack. And this is where both attackers and defenders are changing very, very quickly as they get to understand how new systems are implemented. I'm sure you've been talked to already about the jailbreaking of AIs, where hackers can manipulate a chatbot to bypass safeguards. People had lots of fun with ChatGPT when it first launched, getting it to generate things that were factually incorrect, that were politically incorrect and whatnot. And OpenAI have closed the gates slowly on that over time. That said, people tend to try and break this thing for fun, and they will do so with other implementations of LLMs and chatbots. There's actually a pretty fun game that I recommend to people on my team by a company called Lakera, and the game is called, I think it's called Gandalf or Bypass Gandalf, where you interact with a chatbot and you try and get it to divulge some secrets which it's programmed not to. It's very easy to start making some changes here. We talked about model poisoning as well, and I think one of Microsoft's earlier chatbots is a great example here of where things went wrong. It was training off data on Twitter. The internet being the internet responded and poisoned the Twitter feeds that this chatbot was consuming from, resulting in the bot spewing offensive content and a bit of a PR disaster for Microsoft at the time. Then we've got some slightly more nuanced things like false answers and legal liability that comes out of having a dependency on something written by ChatGPT. These systems aren't infallible. They're non-deterministic by their nature, and if we rely wholly on the outputs of them, we create a potential future issue for ourselves. We've had issues here where lawyers have relied heavily on ChatGPT to draft legal paperwork. That was caught in a court, I think, in the US fairly recently. And we've had issues where chatbots that have interfaced directly with customers have promised people discounts or certain conditions that are not within the policies of the organization. I think on top of this, if we split the model, or the model and the interaction from the data itself, is that AI models by default don't respect the privileges that may be applied to that data elsewhere. So if you think about an organization deploying a staff assist help bot, which will consume from their SharePoint, their Confluence pages, their GitHub and everything else, as soon as that data has been vectorized and is there for the model to consume, it's potentially, depending on how the interaction's been built, lost the level of privilege that went with that data, allowing absolutely anyone to be able to query against those different data sets. So this really emphasizes how much importance there is on data governance when we deal with AI. But look, there's two sides to this, right? As a technologist, I want to throw AI at everything and see where it can enable us. As a security practitioner, I get squeamish at the thought of the potential issues that can be created by this. And the example I'd say of how not to do things is how Samsung did things. They did have an issue. They blocked ChatGPT wholesale across the organization. To me, that's akin to organizations, and we've probably all been in them, who use web proxy to absolutely block everything, and it just makes things difficult. Instead, I advocate for us to look at this on a case-by-case basis. Could we not embrace LLMs in lower risk areas? Could we not seed people with particular data sets that we don't actually mind being out there in the wild? And can we not give someone some guardrails to operate in, allowing them to innovate? It's that classic balancing act of security and agility. But we've done this before. If you think about DevOps, every time you will see it written down now, you will see DevSecOps. SecOps security has been baked into development from the start. And this is no different for AI. Maybe the main difference is that AI constructs within an organization, certainly internally, often operate within business units, sometimes operate within IT, quite often come out of a data organization. They don't have that same understanding of development pathways that an engineering organization would have. And as security practitioners, we need to take what we've learned there and apply it in a DevSecOps AI manner. So we are adding in, thought about this right at the start, bringing in tooling through a development pipeline and assessing at the end the output in a continual manner. So what I advocate for here is model auditing, adding in security processes and tooling, of which there's a multitude, continually testing every time your model's updated or retrained, and getting away from that slow waterfall type delivery that we will start to see within a lot of AI projects, but moving to something where security is considered from the start. Okay, brief touch on legislation. So the EU AI Act, I posted recently about this on LinkedIn. I was very frustrated because I wanted a set of Meta AI smart glasses, and I was told that all of the AI functionality was not going to be rolled out in the UK. Apple have taken a very similar stance to a lot of their AI-driven products as well, and it's because of the EU AI Act. It's there as something that, for me, frustratingly slows us down and stifles the innovation that we have the chance to ride on the back of. That said, GDPR was put the same, and there's other legislation that people will put up as something that slows us down. We don't have a choice in this, but what we can do is work within these frameworks to try and pressure for change. We've seen that change happen in pharma, in aviation, and in other organizations that have, other industries that have had very complex legislation put on top of them. We can be the advocates for change within that area. So I know that compliance over the next couple of years is going to feel particularly burdensome, especially beyond February next year. we need to push for change. Okay, so when you're deploying AI within your organization, there's a curve that you will go through, much as the adoption of any technology. Where I think we need to invest heavily is in that experimental and awareness stage right now, bringing staff on the journey, allowing them latitude to be able to make mistakes, but do it within a controlled manner. And I think the way that we do this is we have a set of principles and a charter within an organization to really drive things forwards. Here we need 5 things that I'm going to push for. A human in the loop, making sure that there's always a way to stop an AI model hallucinating, and we've got humans at the front of this. We take a general principle of doing no harm, and AI should be built with safety at its core. We should allow people a chance to opt out, whether that's your staff, your customers, or elsewhere. There should be a way for people to say at the moment, I don't want to work within an AI construct. Realistically, we need to take a feels good to me or a Daily Mail test on a lot of this and make sure that what we're doing is not something that can be sat on the front page of the Daily Mail. And last but not least here, outside of the human in the loop, we need to be able to have a kill switch for any AI developed pipeline or AI developed system, so that if things go wrong, we have the ability to pull the plug very, very quickly. Okay, I've got a nudge for time, so I've run slightly over, but I think that was that was the vast majority of it. I had one more slide for you, but I'm sure you've probably already covered ethics, values, and if not, I'm happy to chat about it later. Thank you all very much. Just for your attention.